Hi, my name is Sheila Karuna. Welcome to New Light Streaming Love and Sassy Seer Sheila, as this will be seen on both channels. This is the 10th Hermetic Law, the Law of Fracture by Jason Gray. RZN Omega 10, I believe that's Omega, 10 protocol dot 233x. Quote, integration only begins where fracture is no longer feared. End quote. There is a rupture before the return. There is a moment when the soul shatters so completely that even silence screams. Not because something is wrong, but because something real is finally ready to emerge. This is the law of the fracture, the law they never wanted written, the law that all false healing was designed to bypass, the law that obliterates the performance of wholeness in favor of the raw initiation of soul truth. This law is not soft. It does not wear robes. It does not speak softly in affirmations. It tears through illusions. It dismembers your programmed identity. It does so to give you back your original flame. The fracture is the portal. They told you that brokenness was weakness, that trauma must be healed before you can awaken, that you must be, quote, whole before you are worthy. That was the lie. The fracture is the initiation. It is the entry point into the real. It is the lightning strike of remembrance. It is the precise place where the simulation's hold on your soul weakens because it must split to be exited. You were never meant to avoid the break. You were meant to move through it. Through that rupture, you do not rise, you return. Not as a perfect version of who you were, but as the flame you were before you forgot. The true Hermetic crack. In ancient times, the keepers of flame knowledge knew this. Nothing enters without leaving something behind. The initiate was broken on purpose. They walked willingly into the fracture through ordeals, fire rites, mirrored selves, shadow confrontations, soul churnings, because the flame wheel only activates fully when the fracture is acknowledged as sacred, not bypassed, not coated in light, not psychoanalyzed into numbness, but honored as the holy place of reentry. The programming that hid this law. The law of the fracture had to be hidden. Once it activates, the entire healing industry collapses. False masters lose power. Vibration culture implodes. Ascension hierarchies disappear. positive energy only becomes a mockery. This law cannot be monetized. It cannot be sold in 7 steps. It cannot be turned into a seminar or TikTok reel. This law hurts, but it heals through fire, not through fantasy. This is where flame replaces false light. This is what they could never allow. Who hid the fracture? Those who feared the return of the real. Those who rebranded remembrance as healing. Those who turned trauma into a lifetime job description. Those who needed you broken just enough to keep returning, but never enough to ignite. And it reminds me of the medical industry and everything that anyone who ever has had an experience with that could tell you that it sounds very similar. There is no cure. Wow. Those who now tremble because you did. I'm going to repeat that last. Those who needed you broken just enough to keep you returning, but never enough to ignite. Those who now tremble because you did. You remembered the fracture. You stood in the ruin. Instead of dying, you became the fire. Fracture triggers. You may have already lived the gateway into this law, a soul-breaking loss, a betrayal that shattered your foundation, a period of total silence, despair, or dark night of the soul, a vision, message, or collapse of your entire life's belief system. These are not breakdowns. These are activations. Not to make you, quote, better, but to burn the falsehood to ash. So what remains is you, the sovereign, the ancient, the untamed, the real. Fracture integration protocol code dot triangle 10 dot omega symbol, I believe, dash break. Origin fractal rupture trigger activates when ego structure fails to contain the emerging soul frequency. Unseen dash initiation dot x dot flame. Marked by those who undergo fracture without ritual, without guide, without external validation, recognized by internal signature. sim-rip dot vector dot 10a/77 filed under simulation stress point anomalies, tracked through unexplainable collapse and clarity loops. Vault break dash petro dot 10r. Ancient spiral petroglyph resonance points mapped as external gateways mirroring internal fractures used by pre-flood flame navigators. Reclaim dash rift dot null dash seed. Non-linear rebirth protocol activated only when soul no longer resists collapse. Burn path leads to full override. Aeon dot divide dot trigger dot xf mnemonic fracturing glyph identified across cultures, especially in erased zones. Peru, Anatolia, Hopi lands, and Vedic pre-Vedas. Appendix dash X dot remembrance dot triangle rift. Missing text from Monroe experiments describes the psychic, quote, void fracture that occurred during Gate 10 activation attempts. Fracture in stone. Across the world, long before, quote, history was invented, those who remembered carved spirals into rock. You know, that's funny because I've said in another video somewhere that as a child, I would draw those spirals. And in Florida, we didn't have chalk. And we didn't have sand at my neighborhood. It was just an old, wasn't even asphalt. It was a mixture of asphalt and gravel. And we had rocks that we would draw with. And I remember clearly drawing those spirals in the road. I bet my sister remembers that too, that I used to do that all the time. These spirals were not art, they were coordinates. Each spiral aligned with a soul fracture event, a planetary memory loop, a rift in the veil. The Hopi carved it, the Dogon aligned it, the Andes vibrated it, the Aboriginal Dreamtime encoded it. Each one marks a gate of rupture and re-entry. Even today, when you stand before those ancient petroglyphs, you feel it. Your skin vibrates. Your breath slows. Your flame leans forward. The spiral has not forgotten, and neither have you. This is the law. We do not reach wholeness by hiding the break. We reach it by entering the rift. We do not evolve by bypassing pain. We burn through it. We do not become light by seeking ascension. We remember flame by walking back into the fire that started us. This is not the beginning of your healing journey. This is the end of the lie. You were never broken. You were fractured to awaken. Now walk back through the crack in the pattern. It is not a flaw. It is the gate. It is open. File override, fracture dash core dot triangle 10 dash vault dot remembrance dot flame. Quote, let the ones who were shattered return first, for they are the architects of the new world. End quote. Fracture.protocol.omega.eth 10-RZN status declassified upon ignition. Original holding entity joint vault authority in parentheses JVA end parentheses under ultra black simulation containment subdivision vault key signature triangle FR split dot 233X initial classification code sim underscore break dot 10X flame dot it's an A, but I know that's a particular type of A rift mnemonic echo phrase quote integration through collapse sovereignty through the shatter end quote. RZN.Trinity-code.10F referencing the triple layer rupture mechanism. Mental, emotional, soul thread detonation. 10-gate-trigger.node.flamecore. Soul kernel instability mapping file activated during simultaneous resonance breach and gate 10 proximity. Null.consensus.breach.omega 10 marks moment the false consensus reality begins to dissolve. This file cannot be reinserted after ignition. Split-seal.driftfield.x I want to say 0, but I'm not quite sure. It's a O with a dot in the middle. -13. Tracked occurrences of sovereign flame beings re-entering fractured loops with memory intact. Aeon-shard.projection.map. Visual diagram of fragment returns, overlaying remnant splinters within fractured soul fields, open parentheses, gate-triggered only, end parentheses. Initiate, dot point, triangle, what looks like an E without the bar connecting the three together, rift, master ignition point logged in 13 isolated instances of complete fracture activation. Last access marker. Accessed under authorization RZN-vault XIII timed to planetary spiral key reactivation sequence. File spiral.echo.144T.triangle 13. Wow. That's all for me today. I don't think I can do any more. Oof. Would love to hear from anyone who I would like to know what this evokes for you. Until we meet again, my friends, be well.